just Claude Code thing is working out for them right now. So I think that even if the ideas flow pretty freely, so much of this is bottlenecked by human effort and kind of culture of organizations, where Anthropic seems to at least be presenting as the least chaotic. It's a bit of an advantage, and if they can keep doing that for a while. But on the other side of things, there's a lot of ominous technology from China where there's way many more labs than DeepSeek. So DeepSeek kicked off a movement within China, I say kind of similar to how ChatGPT kicked off a movement in the US where everything had a chatbot. There's now tons of tech companies in China that are releasing very strong frontier open weight models, to the point where I would say that DeepSeek is kind of losing its crown as the preeminent open model maker in China, and the likes of Z.AIs with their GLM models, Minimax's models, Kimi Moonshot, especially in the last few months, have shown more brightly. The new DeepSeek models are still very strong, but that's kind of it could look back as a big narrative point where in 2025 DeepSeek came and it kind of provided this platform for way more Chinese companies that are releasing these fantastic models to kind of have this new type of operation. So these models from these Chinese companies are open weights, and depending on this trajectory of business models that these American companies are doing, could be at risk. But currently, a lot of people are paying for AI software in the US, and historically in China and other parts of the world, people don't pay a lot for software.
So some of these models like DeepSeek have the love of the people because they are open weight. How long do you think the Chinese companies keep releasing open weight models?
I would say for a few years. I think that, like in the US, there's not a clear business model for it. I have been writing about open models for a while, and these Chinese companies have realized it. So I get inbound from some of them. And they're smart and realize the same constraints, which is that a lot of US tech companies and other IT companies won't pay for a API subscription to Chinese companies for security concerns. This has been a long-standing habit in tech. And the people at these companies then see open weight models as an ability to influence and take part of a huge growing AI expenditure market in the US. And they're very realistic about this. And it's working for them. And I think that the government will see that that is building a lot of influence internationally in terms of uptake of the technology. So there's going to be a lot of incentives to keep it going. But building these models and doing the research is very expensive. So at some point, I expect consolidation, but I don't expect that to be a story of 2026, where there will be more open model builders throughout 2026 than there were in 2025. And a lot of the notable ones will be in China.
You were going to say something?
Yes, you mentioned DeepSeek losing its crown. I do think to some extent, yes, but we also have to consider, though, they are still, I would say, slightly ahead. And the other ones, it's not that DeepSeek got worse. It's just like the other ones are using the ideas from DeepSeek. For example, you mentioned Kimi, same architecture, they're training it. And then again, we have this leapfrogging where they might be at some point in time a bit better because they have the more recent model. And I think this comes back to the fact that there won't be a clear winner. It will just be like that. And one person releases something, the other one comes in, and the most recent model is probably always the best model.
Yeah, we'll also see the Chinese companies have different incentives. So like DeepSeek is very secretive, where some of these startups are like the Minimaxes and Z.AIs of the world. Those two literally have filed IPO paperwork, and they're trying to get Western mindshare and do a lot of outreach there. So I don't know if these incentives will kind of change the model development, because DeepSeek famously is built by a hedge fund, High Flyer Capital, and we don't know exactly what they we don't know what they use the models for, or if they care about this.
They're secret in terms of communication. They're not secret in terms of the technical reports that describe how their models work. They're still open on that front.